For as long as she could remember, Princess Seraphina had lived in silence. The marble halls of the palace were wide and beautiful, yet empty of laughter. Years of isolation had made her a figure of mystery among her people. They whispered stories about the lonely princess who rarely appeared in public, whose heart seemed locked behind walls higher than the palace gates. Her father, the late king, had passed when she was only 16, and her mother, the queen, was often away attending to matters of state. That left Seraphina, now 24, wandering through gilded rooms with no one to share her thoughts. She had servants, tutors, and advisors, but no companions she could truly call her own. One summer morning, news reached the palace that shook its foundations. A neighboring kingdom had grown restless, threatening to send spies across the border. Rumors spread quickly that even members of the royal household could be targets. For Seraphine's protection, the queen ordered a personal bodyguard to be assigned to her. When he arrived, Seraphine's world shifted. His name was Kale. He was not like the knights she had seen at formal ceremonies. Men more concerned with shining armor than real duty. Kale carried no arrogance in his stance, only quiet confidence. His dark hair was cropped short, his posture alert but never rigid, and his eyes steady, watchful, filled with an intensity that unsettled her. Seemed to read the unspoken words she never dared to say. Their first meeting was brief. "Your Highness," he said with a respectful bow, his voice firm but calm. "I am Kale. From this day forward, my duty is to ensure your safety." Seraphina studied him for a long moment before replying. "And will you treat me as another task to be checked off a list?" His lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "I swore an oath, Princess, not to a list but to you." Those words lingered in her heart long after he left the room. At first, Kale's presence felt like an intrusion. He followed her through the gardens, the library, even during her quiet walks at dusk. But soon, she realized he wasn't there to cage her. He was there to watch the shadows she had ignored. When a stranger loitered too close near the palace gates, Kale's sharp glance sent him running. When a loose stone threatened to trip her on the steps, Kale's steady hand kept her upright without a word. The more time they spent together, the more the silence of the palace seemed to break. One afternoon, Seraphina found him sharpening his blade by the window, the golden light falling across his face. She hesitated before asking, "Do you ever grow tired of duty?" Kale looked up, surprised by her question. "Duty gives me purpose. Without it, I am just another man wandering the world. And if your heart wanted something beyond duty..." She pressed, her voice barely a whisper. His gaze held hers unwavering. "Then I would have to decide if the risk was worth it." Seraphina turned away quickly, but her pulse raced. For the first time in years, she felt alive. As the days passed, danger crept closer. Anonymous letters were slipped beneath the palace doors, warning that Seraphina would not remain untouchable forever. One night, an intruder was caught trying to scale the outer walls. Whispers spread among the guards that someone within the palace itself might be feeding information to enemies. The queen ordered tighter security. But Seraphina noticed the unease in Kale's posture, the way his hand never strayed far from the hilt of his blade. One evening, while the halls were quiet and the moonlight streamed through stained glass windows, Seraphina confronted him. "You know more than you say," she accused softly. Kale's jaw tightened. "There are threats I cannot speak of without proof." "But, you're afraid," she said, stepping closer. "I can see it in your eyes. And yet you stay." His voice dropped low, rough with something unguarded. "I stay because I swore to protect you, no matter the cost." The air between them thickened, heavy with unsaid truths. Neither moved, yet everything shifted in that moment. Seraphina realized, she no longer saw Kale merely as her protector. She saw him as the only person who truly saw her, not as a princess, not as a symbol, but as a woman longing to be understood. The following week, a grand ball was held in the palace to reassure the people of the kingdom's strength. Nobles filled the hall with their jeweled gowns and polished smiles, but Seraphina felt suffocated. Adrian, a wealthy lord who had long courted her favor, pressed her to dance. His charm was polished, his words practiced, but his gaze slid past her as though he admired the crown more than the woman who wore it. From across the room, Seraphine's eyes found Kale. He stood in the shadows, watchful, his hand resting casually on the hilt of his sword, and though no words passed between them, she felt his presence steady her more than Adrian's hand ever could. Later that night, when the guests had gone, Seraphina wandered into the moonlit garden. Kale followed at a distance, silent as always. "Do you ever wonder?" she said softly, staring at the roses. what it would be like if things were different. If I were not a princess, and you not bound by duty. Kale's reply was slow, deliberate. I wonder every day. Her breath caught. She turned to face him, and for once, he did not hide the storm in his eyes. But before either could speak further, a sudden crash echoed from the far end of the garden. Shadows moved, figures cloaked, armed, slipping past the guards. Kale pushed Seraphina behind him in an instant, blade drawn, eyes fierce. The attackers moved quickly. But Kale was quicker. His strikes were precise, his stance unbreakable. Yet, even as he fought, Seraphina knew he was outnumbered. Fear surged through her as she grabbed a lantern and hurled it toward the nearest intruder, the flame scattering them just enough for Kale to regain the upper hand. When the chaos ended, 2 men were captured, the rest fleeing into the night. Kale stood breathing heavily, his tunic torn, a shallow cut across his arm. Kale, Seraphina cried, rushing to his side. It's nothing, he said. Though his voice was strained, she reached for his hand, holding it tightly. You risked everything for me. He looked at her then, not as a soldier to his charge, but as a man stripped of all pretense. I would do it again, 1,000 times. In the silence that followed, the truth became undeniable. The conflict between them was not duty against neglect, nor wealth against poverty. It was love caught in the chains of circumstance. The queen, alarmed by the attack, announced the next morning that Seraphina would be escorted abroad for safety. Kale was ordered to remain behind, his role considered compromised after the breach. Seraphine's heart shattered. That night, she found Kale in the stables, preparing his horse. They're sending me away, she whispered, his jaw clenched, but he didn't look up. It's for your protection. Her voice broke. And who will protect my heart? For the first time, Kale faltered. Slowly, he turned toward her, his expression raw, unguarded. If I could, I would tear down every wall, defy every order, just to stay by your side. But I swore, an oath, princess. And sometimes, keeping that oath means walking away. Tears blurred her vision, but she lifted her chin. Then hear my oath, Kale. I will not let the world decide my fate. I may be a princess, but I am also a woman. And I choose you. The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of destiny. Outside, the night stretched endless, the future uncertain. Yet in that fragile moment, Seraphina and Kale knew one truth: their love would defy the chains of duty. No matter what storms lay ahead. For the princess had finally found her voice, and the man sworn to protect her had found the one reason worth breaking every rule he had ever lived by.